Good morning, Peterborough. We are doing our second interview today with a local business owner about ways that you can combat climate change. As a local business owner, what are some ways that you think that you can lead the way in making more sustainable lifestyle choices?
Well, Kawartha Local is kind of at its base a company that supports the idea of making positive choices. So we're an all local company. All our goods and services are local. Our product is made locally, and we cater largely to a local audience. So we're kind of inherently that way. I think for other companies, they can certainly promote the idea that they support the local economy, that they are contributing to local suppliers as well. So that notion of supporting the local economy, with ways of getting your goods and services with a sort of low carbon footprint, that sort of notion, I think, is one that businesses can certainly promote. There's all kinds of initiatives that businesses, when they have the time and when they get a little assistance, they're able to promote themselves as caring about the environment and being proponents of green.
And how important it is, do you think, to basically bake the notion of sustainability into the business model when you are starting a business?
Well, I think anything that you can do in that regard, because what happens over time is that you get drawn into your day-to-day operational concerns. So you have to make payroll, you have to get the best price you can for your supplies, you need to improve your sales, all those kinds of things. So I think if you start from a philosophy of trying to kind of bake in local use of other companies, use of the local economy or support for the local economy right from the beginning, it helps when you're sort of overtaken by all of those kinds of things.
Absolutely.
And companies need to be reminded of why that's important from time to time. That's where people like you come in, I think.
Right on. And so can you give us a little bit more detail about Kawartha Local?
So Kawartha Local is an all-local gift box company. So we supply gifts to people for special occasions that are made from products here in Peterborough and the Kawartha. So there's nothing in our gift box that comes from further than about 30 minutes away. The boxes themselves are made by a company here in town called Sustain Furniture. And we essentially have found a way to add some value to what would otherwise be a waste product. So Sustain takes their offcuts from their projects and creates boxes for Kawartha Local. We fill them with interesting combinations of locally produced goods and sell them as little theme boxes.
That's amazing. So as the Christmas season is upon us, Rob, what are some things that you would help communicate to the Peterborough community about sourcing their gifts locally?
Oh well, there's lots of options. I guess would be my number one suggestion. You don't necessarily have to go to a big box store to buy everything. You don't necessarily have to buy everything online at Amazon. There are lots of options for people to buy local art, local artisanal food, local artisan goods, jewelry. I mean, there's just a huge number of opportunities here. There's a lot of really talented people in Peterborough and the Kawarthas who would love for you to consider buying their products as a gift, and a lot of service providers that would love to get a GiveLow gift certificate to you or their own gift certificate so that you can frequent their spa or their salon or what have you. So lots of options.
That's amazing. So from an environmental perspective, what do you think are some of the things that we can communicate? Like, a lot of people think, buying local, yes, it's good for the environment, but can you give us a little bit of tidbit as to why that is?
Why it's important?
And well, in terms of greenhouse gas emissions reduction.
Oh, for sure. So, I mean, there's a couple of aspects to that. So, buying local automatically kind of reduces the carbon footprint. So, if you consider a good that otherwise comes from, say, Asia across the sea, and is then goes into the supply chain in Canada, the supply chain system, I mean, it has a pretty hefty carbon footprint by the time it reaches you. So anything that you can do to buy and support local businesses is automatically going to be, not carbon neutral, but it's going to be a much better way to go in that regard. more generally, and kind of more maybe on a more abstract level, anything that we can do to foster the connections between local consumers and local producers increases our resilience, I think, to shocks that might come our way in the future. So we don't really know how climate change is going to affect us truly. I mean, there's going to be many ways, both dramatic and subtle, that climate change is going to have an impact on Peterborough and this region. Anything that we can do to build a tighter knit community, tighter commercial and trade ties with each other can only help. So think about Velcro, right? Velcro, it's an amazingly resilient material, and it's thousands of little interconnections, right? Just each one of which isn't necessarily particularly strong or particularly thick, but when those are all brought together, you can really withstands a lot of pressure on it, and the community is like that as well. So the local economy is like, we want to build a Velcro-based local economy. Lots of little connections between consumers and suppliers, and between suppliers and other suppliers, B2B and B2C connections. The more of those that we have, the more that we can withstand probably fairly uncertain times in the future.
Amazing. And so now I'm going to ask you a question on a personal level as a business owner. What are some changes that you yourself have made in your daily life with your family there at home?
So I guess the biggest one for me that has a kind of environmental consequence or kind of aspect is changing from someone who commuted daily to Oshawa, it's about an hour away.
Yep.
Commuted, and that was a little hybrid car, but even so, this is, that has a bit of an impact. And then refocusing my energies really on this community. I work part-time at Fleming, and I have Kawartha Local as really a home-based business. So I've more or less eliminated the footprint of my commute in making that shift. And we, on a personal level in our family, we go to a lot of extra care to try and buy and support local producers, but also just more generally to shop according to things that are kind of made in Canada. We can still make things in this country, and so we want to make sure that we support those manufacturers as well. It's not easy. The system is not really set up. It's set up on a different kind of basis of what's the least expensive good or that kind of thing. So it's not always easy to find Canadian made goods, but that's sort of a personal commitment that we've made to try, and not that we have anything against our friends in other countries. It's really more about trying to direct our own consumer dollars to causes that we believe in.
Excellent. And my last question, I suppose, for today is, how do you maintain a positive attitude when you hear such news that our planet is heating up and we need to stay below the catastrophic 2 degrees Celsius threshold?
Right.
How do you maintain that positive attitude and really feel that you're making a difference in your community, and how do you get other people to adopt that same positive attitude?
Yeah, so it's tough because it's not a question of sort of if climate change is going to affect us. It's really a question of at what time and how much, and we're already starting to see impacts from that, and we will see more, and they will be more significant over time. So it's coming, and I think the Transition Town folks have it exactly right, is that where we need to focus is on our social networks and on our ability to kind of deal and adapt to that change. So we can do things that will probably help mitigate it, and I think I take some solace and some fun out of like trying to rethink how we do things. So adapting to that change is going to open up all kinds of interesting opportunities for innovation. And so that's what encourages me. That's what keeps me optimistic as I look at the kind of projects that our local utility does with companies to make them more energy efficient and in really innovative ways. That inspires me. I look at the work that GreenUp does and collaborating with little companies like the Wireless Shop to do a depaving project. All of these little demonstration projects really inspire me and keep me optimistic. Look at a local company like I think it's called Alclaris, that makes an ozone-based system for purifying water. So that's a huge innovation and a great way to kind of feel like, yeah, we are making some progress here. So I look to those young innovators and think, okay, yeah, we're going to be okay.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you so much, Rob, for your time
My pleasure.
today.
Thank you.
Thanks for speaking with me and for having another one of our nature walks. And thanks for having this discussion about
Great.
climate change and being a local business owner here in Peterborough.
Thanks very much, and thank you for the work that you do.